Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com. You can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I'm Evan Irwin. I'm going to get started quick by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Good evening.
Ruben Bressler.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
I'm not centered.
Are you not?
No, I'm just working on it.
I thought you were. Okay.
You'll get there. It's cool. We can make it work.
Okay.
My current ridiculous hair makes me look uncentered. I have a bit of a schwa happening off to the side.
A schwa.
I promise you that I'm centered in the middle of the frame.
It makes you look uncentered, huh?
Yeah, it makes me look windswept, is what it looks like.
Windswept. That's what we'll go with.
There's a stiff breeze coming from my left.
Directly from the closet. We also get started with
Ruben Bressler trapped in the closet.
It's time
Part 7.
Time to film it, man. We need to film that. We also get started with our Trumpet Blast. You can get one if you support us for our highest level on Patreon. Don't got one, but we're going to kick it off with the first pick and the giveaway. A $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com is up for grabs. Exclamation mark raffle in the chat for your chance to win, but subscribe first. And you can do so with Bezos Bucks. Remember, to get 2 chances to win.
That's a pro gamer move is what that is. If you sub first and then, that's smart. Good job.
As far as I know, it will not retroactively add you back to the thing as another chance. So make sure you do that first. It's fine. Our first pick is kind of funnily enough, some events that none of us really got to watch that Wizards didn't really promote and just kind of happened, and then they stopped happening.
Yeah. Apparently there were 2 PTs.
Yeah, 2 players tours this weekend, and it feels like they kind of landed with a thud where, I didn't see a lot of conversation on Twitter about them. I tend to get a lot of my news by clicking on the hashtags, the official hashtags for the event, and there wasn't a lot of discussion happening there either. Reddit didn't seem to really latch on to any moments in particular. I just didn't see any enthusiasm for this. There was no engagement with this. It just wasn't there.
There's so much that is kind of not dubious is not the right word, just kind of unsatisfying in that the payout is only down to a certain place. So you could, be playing in these PTQs, as we now call them, Players Tour qualifiers, got to first place, got to this Players Tour, and then go home with nothing. Yeah. And a lot of players went home with nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And first got 35K, and that's terrific. And there are different amounts based on where they are in the world or whatever. But the point is, it's just starting. You start to see a really clear picture with what Wizards sort of cares about right now, and what they want to promote, and what they're marketing so hard. And what they're marketing so hard is their World Championships. If you have not seen or heard anything about Worlds, you're certainly not paying any sort of attention to Wizards because they won't shut up about it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I get the marketing plan, and I think they're actually doing a really good job with it. But did we really have to sacrifice these events at the altar of another Magic Arena event?
Yeah, it does feel like, kind of going back to HasCon, where it was like, they threw out, was it Ultimate Masters or was it Iconic Masters?
Iconic Masters.
Yeah, so, you sacrifice one thing to promote another thing. That's what it does kind of feel like a little bit. But I will say one thing I did hear a little bit of buzz about was Ken Yukihiro. He had a really, really sweet deck. It was a deck that revolved around SRAM and Athenia. And it was this really low to the ground, black, white, almost Bogles type list. And I thought it was brilliant and really showing off that ingenuity that I feel like you only get from the Asian events. I love just going on Happy MTG and just going through their deck list because they are doing things that nobody else is doing. And I just love seeing all of the spicy tech, and Nagoya certainly delivered on that front.
Yeah, it was, Nagoya was really interesting, especially when you compare it to Brussels, because it seems like the Japanese really mastered the Inverter Oracle combo.
Yeah.
More so than anyone who played in the European tournament. Inverter did get second place in Brussels, but 7 of the top 16 in Nagoya were Inverter Oracle decks, including the 2 finalists and 3 of the top 4. Shintaro Ishimura beat Yuta Takahashi in the finals, and Shota Yasuoka also played Inverter Oracle. And also...
Are we sure we're talking about... Because remember, there was a Grand Prix there, too. So Ken Yukihiro got second at the Players Tour. There was also a GP in Nagoya, which could be very confusing.
So I'm pretty sure this is PT Nagoya.
Okay, because I see Ken Yukihiro is in second place. Do you not see that?
I see him in third place with SRAM Auras. Oh, maybe I'm looking at the Swiss standings. In any case, one, two, three, four, 5 Inverter Oracle decks made top 8, which is a lot. And in Brussels, 7 different archetypes made top 8.
Yeah.
Including Inverter Oracle, but it was a much more wide open field. Swedish Brian Kibler, Joel Larsen ended up winning with kind of a homebrew, like a Sultai mid-rangey control delirium thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that Pioneer looked pretty darn healthy, honestly, when I looked just at the Brussels results. The problem is that then the Nagoya results came out and they were a little bit herky-jerky, and people are going to be clamoring for bans, I would imagine, after those results. But also, maybe they won't be, because nobody heard about these events.
Well, there's that. I mean, think of it this way. The coolest card I felt that Ken Yukihiro was playing is like the most unkillable thing right now in Pioneer, which is Apostle of Purifying Light. This has protection from black. No fatal pushing's going to get it. No black removal spells that's played in any fashion in Pioneer right now is going to be able to get rid of it. And you just start throwing enchantments on it, and you keep going. And you have Gideon of the Trials to stop the, game-winning trigger, because while you control Gideon, don't work. Now does it? Yeah. So that was really cool tech. I thought it was
Gideon of the
sweet.
Trials against Inverter combo is really good. Yeah.
Yeah. People have talked about, I think Saffron Olive was talking about like Hushwing Griff type effects. I guess, but they run a lot of kill spells and that really wouldn't work. And sometimes they also board into a Scarab God deck. So you'd have to find a way to like deal with that nonsense too. Like Pioneer is healthy. Like you said, having a really diverse top 8 is good. It does feel like you really can play anything. I just personally haven't found any of the decks to be very exciting, where it's like, you look at mono black and like it works, but it just doesn't stir anything within you. It's like, that's what I'm really looking for in a format. I want to feel excited when I look at these deck lists. And other than, Ken's innovation, I just didn't really feel it.
Well, wouldn't it be nice to know a little bit more than just the top 8 or just the top 16? Wouldn't it be nice to have more deck lists, or even know some archetypes?
You mean like they used to?
Right, like they used to publish a bunch of information about.
They publish everything,
right? Like all the deck lists, right? Because they were
last year.
They were digitally submitted, so they had the ability to give you literally all of them, and then you had the ability to create the exact matchup data across the entire metagame. You actually.
As recently as like 2 months ago, they told us the exact number of every card that was played in a tournament.
So suddenly, there was a question to Frank Karsten: are we going to have deck lists for GP Brussels? Please, as much as you can, people want to see those brews, which we certainly do. And Frank said, I'm not responsible for text coverage of GP Brussels, and I am no longer allowed to share as much data as I've done for past events. However, top 8 deck lists should be linked at coverage.channelfireball.com. So, and once again, with the too much information. This is crap that me and Ruben have dealt with for like a freaking decade or so at this point. Wizards just being so afraid of giving the real information about it.
Well, let me just ask, and you guys have been around a lot longer, so that's why I'm asking the question. I mean, do you think from my perspective, it seems like it makes more sense with a brand new baby format as opposed to something that's been around for a while, like Modern or Legacy or Vintage. Like, could that be the case here, that we are in really unique times and this is a brand new format, and maybe that information might be bad?
Okay, so I guess a way to put it is they've published previous events where all of the deck lists were published. Did they feel that did
right?
harm?
But were these brand new formats that had been around for only a couple months?
I'd have to go back and look at the exact data, I guess. Okay. But again, this is like tale as old as time at this point when it comes to Magic. Somebody at Wizards believes that if all of this deck list data, this metagame data is shared about this event, then it will somehow damage the format or damage deck building or damage innovation or whatever boogeyman they would like to choose that week, because too much information is going to just wreck Magic. And more than likely, it's not gonna. See also every other friggin' CCG that doesn't care and doesn't try to police it. And you have the untapped.ggs and you have the other programs that are collecting this information to tell you things like, I think it was it Fires was the best of one deck for Standard in Magic Arena. Why? Because they have like hundreds of thousands of games or whatever worth of data from users sending them that stuff.
And we've seen that with Hearthstone, I think, too. I think we talked about this
100%.
on a previous show where we saw like they had stock market looking graphs and everything, and like it was very detailed.
Right, and at this point, I mean, that becomes like Patreon content for that website, and it doesn't make your game suck. I don't know who I have to tell at Wizards it doesn't make your game suck, and it didn't make it suck a few months ago when you gave us that information, and it's not going to make it suck if you give us all the deck lists at PT, Brussels, or Nagoya, or next week, or this week rather, coming in Phoenix. Like,
it goes through cycles. I mean, obviously, speaking of too much information, because you brought it up, I used to write the Too Much Information article series when I worked for Star City Games, and then they were like, hey, cut that out for this reason. This is the latest in a long litany of times that they've done this, and they always walk it back. Every 6 months or every 9 months or every year they change their mind, and it goes through cycles of we want more information, we want less information, and it is, one is not better than the other, and also it's tough to predict because some metagames are more healthy than others, and some information can benefit some standard metagames more than it can benefit others, and so it is kind of at random, I feel, and the fact that we weren't told ahead of time and that now we get this information from a random tweet from Frank Karsten is frustrating. And as is usually the case, the communication is the part that we are saddest about. We would have been upset. We would have been like, oh, they're doing this crap again, aren't they? Well, that's stupid, but it worked out last time, as opposed to learning after the fact that we'll never see some of that information, which is kind of unfortunate. But once again, I think that, first of all, we'll get over it. Second of all, the metagames will all shift in a week, regardless of what the deck lists look like. And third of all, they'll walk this back next tournament anyway, because that's what they do.
So I have to ask, since you brought it up, and if you can't answer the question, you don't have to, but when you got that instruction or that order that you couldn't do this, did that come from like Star City, or did that come from like on high?
I received the information from my boss at the time, one Mr. Evan Irwin. I don't know where the information came from him.
He ain't talking.
So unfortunately, this is plot-locked information.
Darn.
That we're gonna have to save for later in the season.
I am here for that tell-all, Evan.
I got a calendar marking. It's like an advent calendar where I take a piece of candy out of my calendar until the days where Evan is allowed to just go off. It'll be like a 3.5 hour special.
Nice.
That one was specifically from somewhere else. I don't know what I don't know if or where the order came from, but I stopped writing that article series personally.
Okay.
Just set the data free. That's all I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with the data. The data do nothing wrong.
I am always of the opinion that more information is better, regardless of whether that information is helpful or harmful or what the information will do. Always more information is better. I might be naive. I'm also not an employee or a subsidiary of Hasbro, so maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm mistaken, but from my perspective, just somebody call Frank Karsten and let him do that thing.
I tend to prefer more information because I tend to play formats that don't get very many events. And so, when you have something like Standard that is being played seemingly everywhere, deck lists are not hard to come by. But if you're playing something like Legacy or Vintage, where you're only getting, one event every 6 months, or you only have the challenges or the showcases, we really need to see those lists because that drives our metagame. And so when you only give us one event a week, we know that more of our format is being played. And so I feel like the information is much more crucial for those older formats than it is the newer ones. But I do agree that the newer ones aren't hurt by it.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. Again, I've seen this pendulum go back and forth so many times. I would not be surprised.
Post a bunch of deck lists. It's not like they kept everything to themselves.
Right. I think X and 4 are better.
Yeah, I
Something
think
like
it was
that.
6-4 or better. All of those got posted. So it's
Something
not like we lost everything ever. I mean, they posted most everything.
They just scaled back a little bit.
They scaled back a little bit. And again, the big issue is the communication, which is why was this a policy change that wasn't announced? Why are we learning about it after the fact?
And I believe this is pertaining to the GPs, not the PTs, based on Efro noting they posted every deck on Friday. So
okay.
Maybe the information's getting a little garbled here. The point is, I want to move on to gather the townsfolk, and I've heard, you know, I've watched some various YouTube programs in my time, and I watched some of them recently that have suggested things like Theros Beyond Death has done very poorly. Theros Beyond Death sales have just been tanking. The collector boxes are tanking. The booster boxes.
Is this fact or is someone saying this? Someone's
just talking out of their butt, because allow me to give you the actual factual data that I can see and I can know. And I'm telling you that Theros Beyond Death has been a fantastic success for Magic. In fact, Theros Beyond Death has outsold sealed product of Ravnica Allegiance in the same time period. You know what I mean? When you take it like, it's been out for 2 weeks or a week and a half or whatever, took the same thing, did the comparison. I'm like, holy cow, really? Now, noted, and I will note, that Theros Beyond Death's single sales are lower, but one of those sets has Shocklands. So
the other one doesn't.
Right, so that's kind of a thing. But the point is, this idea that like Theros is bad and everything sucks and everything's burning down, no. In
Theros being good was part of the reason why GP New Jersey was such a big hit. That was the set that people wanted to rip open. Like.
And it really was. And like, it's a super fun set and limited.
Pre-releases sold out.
Pre-releases were doing great. The drafts are fantastic. It's a super great, it's a really nice format. I'm really impressed with it. And honestly, I was unexpecting it to do that well. Certainly not to beat a Ravnica set.
Yeah.
So like, this is real stuff. Like Theros is an actual factual success, and they did a great job going back to it.
It's an interesting paradigm shift. I think that the Theros is becoming one of those planes that people are going to want to go back to over and over and over again. The success of Theros Beyond Death, especially as compared to a Ravnica set, you don't outsell Ravnica in the same time period. It's just not a thing that you do. And the fact that this did signals that I think that Theros Beyond Death, while not Dominaria.
Right, it's not Dominaria, it's not War of the Spark.
Yeah, well, not War of the Spark, but like what is, know, and it's going to be another Zendikar, for example, where you go back to it every 6-7 years, another Innistrad.
Right.
But unlike Zendikar, I think they did a good job of identifying the things that people liked about Theros and then changing the things they didn't. Right. Because Theros, people had some feelings about. I, in particular, didn't enjoy the sealed format. I hated Theros sealed. I walked out of the pre-release because I hated this Voltron magic where the removal was terrible and you would suit one thing up with a bunch of ordeals. Like, I didn't want to do that, So they knew that people liked enchantments, but they got rid of Bestow. They got rid of some of the clunkier aspects. They made Constellation a lot less binding to where you didn't have to play just enchantments. And so they did a really good job of that. And that made me want to play in the pre-release. I played 2 different pre-release events. And I would gladly play more. And I love the set.
I got to tell you, the more I draft this set, the grindier it gets.
It's pretty grindy.
I've won or lost by decking by just drawing cards so many times.
Multiple times for me.
That 2/3 for 4 with flying that gains lifelink and vigilance is like the only card that ends games by itself. It's ridiculous. I wish that there were more Wings of Hubris and more, unblockable creatures that
want more Dream Trawler? Dream Trawler.
Sure, Dream Trawler's a flying creature at least.
But more like Secret Passages, stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
Rogue's Passage?
Rogue's Passage, thank you. Okay. Like, give me ways to kind of end stalemates, because...
Conspicuous bookcase or suspicious bookcase.
Right.
Like stuff like that. Yeah, ways to end stalemates would be nice, because there aren't a ton. Everything has huge toughnesses. There's a lot of life gain.
Even the removal's not that swell. Like one of the reasons I was able to run away with the game with our preview card is yeah, they're drawing cards, but it's sealed. The cards ain't good.
Right, exactly.
You know, so draw some of your 2 damage, whatever you have. This is a Nessian boar, and so
Dream Trawler is that guy's a messed up Magic card. First of all, the fact
it turns out that Nessian Boar, by the way, is great in sealed because no one can win a game, so you just deck your opponent.
There
you just deck them with it, which is fantastic.
Our card is good, you guys.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good and it's fun, and I like it.
It is a 10-6 for 5. 10-7, 10-6.
I appreciate the mythic, Kiora wins the game. That's always fun.
Right.
To do that.
Kiora Besks the Sea God is an absolutely ridiculous card too.
Yeah.
All right, so let's pivot here from one successful product to another very successful product.
Hey.
One Mark Rosewater was answering a few questions and or addressing some skeptics, as he notes here, saying that, there's a way to find out whether or not your hypothesis is correct. And my guess is, again, skeptical that Unsanctioned is going to do well, it's going to sell. He says if the product isn't worth it for just the basic lands and that's all players care about, then the product should sell poorly. If it does, I'll admit I'm wrong. If not, you all should. Deal? It's like...
Wow, this is a side of MaRo we don't often see. Like, I find this series of tweets so fascinating for a couple of reasons. Because number one, who were these skeptics? And maybe it's just my echo chamber talking, but ever since Unsanctioned was revealed, I've seen nothing but positivity surrounding it. I saw people raving about the art and the characters and the squirrel lands, and people having fun figuring out, where the squirrels were and the other lands. Like, I didn't see anybody that had their claws out for this. So who were these skeptics or these haters that he was responding to, number one? And number two, as if you haven't ever put a product in a product just to sell the product, Arcane Signet would like to say hello. Like,
like those lands...
So the fact that you're acting like this practice is beyond you somehow, it's like, no way. No way.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of people. Let's put it this way, okay? Feel free to count the dozens upon dozens of auctions of everything in Unsanctioned box but the lands on eBay, like the day it releases, because that's probably gonna go for like $10, and the value is actual in those lands. My kind of issue is that I would hope that Rosewater would have known, or hopefully shortly thereafter the tweet that he sent, that Unsanctioned is a gigantic hit. It is a monster hit. We have the top comment reply is from John Sasso, owner of Channel Fireball, saying that they slacked their director of sales to order as many as they could. And CSI is the same way. We're like, just bring it. Come on, we do this. Because let me tell you, if you want Unsanctioned, you need to buy it right now. You need to pre-order it right now. I'm telling you, they're going to be gone. I'm talking like by the time of release. Don't wait till February 28th or whatever.
And there's no guarantee of, or you had not heard of any plans for a second printing, right? Right.
This could be a one and done printing, and maybe it's not. I don't know. But at the same time,
they did that with Unstable, didn't they? Like they said it. They alluded
they
that
just
it was
haven't announced yet.
Right, and they did a reprint for Unstable, as I recall. They did, and that went over well. So, and hopefully they'll make one here. I mean, it's a very successful product, but if it takes a while to get your reprint in, and there's a new set, secret layer, shiny thing in your face every other week, is it going to be as shiny when it shows up the second time around? So, so I think those lands are going to be incredibly expensive and super sought after, and who knows how you're going to get more of them. So if you like it, buy it.
I'm just waiting to pull the trigger on my Pokemon lands. I'm hoping they go down a little bit more, but I'm not sure that's going to happen.
They're probably at their floor because of the amount of collector booster boxes that have been opened. So if you want them, you should probably get them now.
All right.
Those are like $2 a piece now.
50 cents a piece.
Ooh.
Oh, she's talking about the non-foil.
Yeah, I'm not a foil girl.
They're probably not going to get any cheaper than that.
50 cents a piece is pretty good for those.
Pretty decent. Aaron, you could take this next one if you'd like to. I think this is a great story.
Yeah, so we've talked about how Wizards is doing a really good job star building and really promoting these world players. And one of the people that they highlighted today was my friend Autumn Burchett. And this really great article came out where they were talking about Autumn's year, how Autumn had a really, really big year last year, what they learned from last year and what they're taking into this year. Megan Wolf actually wrote this from Good Luck High Five. And this was a really great look inside of Autumn's mind. I really related to a couple of things that Autumn brought up here, where Autumn mentions that after they exploded and all of the fanfare that they received, they felt this pressure of not only not wanting to disappoint the people who were looking up to them, but also not wanting to feed the trolls who were only there to really flame them and insult them, which is very valid. And then Autumn went on to talk about how they had this fear of people only being with them or following them because they were good at the game. You work yourselves into these narratives of, if I start losing, people are going to stop caring about me. And that was something I was always really afraid of when I first started creating content. Was I felt like I had to be good to have a soapbox or to have a platform. And if I didn't have that, then people wouldn't follow me anymore. People wouldn't watch me. Or, times where I have taken a break from the game and I haven't played very often, would people still stick around if I'm not tweeting about Magic? And they brought up some really valid concerns that even, non-pros can really relate to. And so I'm really glad that they said all of this. And it was just a really great read. And I hope Autumn does very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the perfect time article. First of all, I missed that byline, so way to crush it, Megan Wolf. I thought this was incredibly well written. This is like a a case that you could study on star building for a game of any sort. Honestly, it goes through the career and the ups and the downs and sort of the emotional journey. It ends with the video that's going to highlight the upcoming event. Like, this is a very, very nice professional way to really put the spotlight on the people you're paying a whole bunch of money to show up at these events. So that's a good thing. We've done nothing but beg them to take advantage of these stars.
It is. And I also want to give the kudos to Autumn, because as I've said before, I think the star building goes both ways. And so I think it's one thing if Megan wants to write an article, but if you don't have a subject that is willing to let you in, the article can bust. And so I really, I can appreciate I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry.
I got you.
But it'd be one thing if Autumn didn't let Megan in, but Autumn really took you there, and Autumn let you into their mental game, and even talked about how when they did really well at the Pro Tour, a lot of people talked about Autumn's preparation, that they really knew this one deck very well. And Autumn's like, well, I've also done well with decks that I just kind of learned, and so that can also be a skill too. So kudos to Autumn for letting you in, as well as Megan for even approaching them and going there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This was a textbook case of it takes two to tango. You need the company to back the player, but you need the player to buy into it.
Exactly.
And the other thing I personally really like about Autumn is that they put their money where their mouth is when it comes to issues that they care about.
Yes.
Like, some people will back off or try to poo-poo an issue when the spotlight is on, and Autumn does not shy away from a spotlight or a controversy when there is an issue to be talked about. So I think that is a valuable addition to the star that is Autumn Burchett as well.
All right, so we're gonna move on here to something we have literally begged Wizards to do for on this show, 4-ish whatever years, 5 years going on now. Magic show years before that. Like, if nothing else, we have begged them, please give them a dress code. Give them a dress code, for God's sake. And we finally got one, along with a lot of other stuff. But it's the other stuff that kind of makes you go, wow, really? Okay. But
we'll start with the dress code.
Let's start with, you can't wear shorts or flip-flops to a Pro Tour. Well,
I heard that Matt Nass turned down a slot, and it all makes sense.
Boy's got his shorts, am I right?
Yeah.
Wants to be comfortable.
Look, you're going to take a stand just like Autumn if you've got an issue that you're passionate about, like basketball shorts.
Here was something interesting. They note in the contract, or the rules as it were, that you don't get the benefit of the doubt in a judge investigation. I was like, that's a weird kind of way to say that, but I don't know. It just seems odd,
To go back to the dress code for a second, so it says competitors, organizers, teams, sponsors, tournament officials, and staff should take care of their hygiene, wear appropriate clothing for official events and in Magic-related content, unless cleared by the MPL. Shorts, open-toed shoes, flip-flops, and other casual attire is not appropriate for tournaments or public events. Additionally, attire should be clean, and attire that either has obvious stains or odors that a competitor chooses to wear for a tournament may result in penalties. Like, they're not playing around.
Yeah, apparently here we have minor unsporting conduct gets a $500 fine, $5,000 for major and or bribery.
Yeah, so this is, if people are wondering what we're looking at, this is the 2020 Magic Pro League rules, which were recently released or revamped. And so there's a slew of rules here involving tournament play, involving core philosophies, branding, like sponsorships that you can obtain. And whenever we've talked about dress codes, we've always talked about it for really only the signature events, like the Worlds and the Pro Tours. But this is saying if you're in the MPL at all, like this is if you are going to be out there and you're going to be repping us, you've got to keep it tight. And it's like, wow.
How about this one? Use of social media that incites negative public opinion against the MPL is a $500 fine if unintentional. The loss of an event invite if intentional.
That's the one that's most interesting to me, is don't talk crap about the event.
Or the
I
program
don't think that's so
itself, right?
controversial.
No, it's not controversial.
It's just,
they're catching up to regular esports.
Well, it was controversial though, because it made it to Reddit, and I know people on Twitter were really surprised by this and thought it was like draconian.
Not
this
quite.
is boilerplate esports.
Yeah, I thought so too, but people were like, it's too far.
I would say this is Wizards finally putting their esports big boy pants on. You know, it's like this is the stuff that you have to have in place to really have teeth behind what you're saying. You're like, no, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. If you look like you're cheating, you're just going to be busted, and that's just that's going to be on you. And don't go talking crap about the person who gives you lots of money. Like that's kind of a
and
thing.
To be clear, I don't think they're saying you can't provide criticism, but you can't also just dog them. You know, you can't run to Reddit or you can't run to Twitter. You know, we're all not the most eloquent on social media, and so it's one thing to have like constructive feedback. It's another to go on Twitter and be like, that judge can kiss my ass. Like, you can't do that. And so I don't think they're censoring anybody. I don't think it's a free speech thing. I think it's just a matter of, you can have issues with something, but there are channels to, take them up on, or there are ways to say that, as opposed to running to Tumblr and just spewing all over something.
Right. So it's one of those things where, yes, this is not crazy. This is kind of standard stuff. The other half is, yes, wouldn't it be nice if we could all just, speak the raw truth to power every time we didn't like something and get to drag them through the mud because. And
the good news is you can. There's just a price to pay for it. You if you want to put your money where your mouth is, you can literally still do that.
Yeah.
You certainly could. I'm going to move on here to another cool thing to look at. I'm going to get it up here on the screen ASAP. We have the Ikoria stuff is coming. Ikoria Lair of Behemoths.
Is this a Vivian set?
That's a Vivian.
Is it though? Okay.
Okay.
Well,
so, I mean, it has to. It is.
Oh, she's right in the middle there, next to the big.
Oh, nice. There you go. Yeah. So on your screen right now, if you're watching, we have the key art from Ikoria Lair of Behemoths. This is the one piece of art that Wizards releases far in advance so that people like yourself, or people like myself rather, and other retailers can use the same image forever. We would love it if you give us more images, but that's okay. I get it. Ikoria Lair of Behemoths, though, is looking certainly like a battle cruiser Magic. This is one giant monster, let's go kill someone with it type of set, and I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, somebody replied to this. The latest Kiora was Kiora Behemoth Beckoner, Lair of Behemoths. Kiora, maybe?
Why not?
Maybe.
We can have a little Kiora as a treat.
Well, I would also note some things for context. Rise the Eldrazi was the last set I recall them saying, like, very specifically, this is Battle Cruiser Magic. I think Theros kind of ended up that way. But Rise, they were very specific and like, we made rules. Super terrible. We gave you an 8 mana, 8/8 in common. Like, we gave you 1,000,000 defenders. This is what you're going to be doing. And based on what I've heard from Wizards and Mark Rosewater saying that only like hardcore drafters loved Rise of the Eldrazi. So who knows how they kind of switched it up to make Battle Cruiser Magic different.
It definitely felt like a different style of Magic, Rise of the Eldrazi Limited. A battle cruiser can mean different things to different people as well. There is the type of, just pay 8 mana for an 8/8 and have a format slow enough where that's good.
Right.
There's also build your own 8/8 with bestow creatures or enchantments or whatever and what have you. Or there's meld, there's mutate, which we are theorizing is going to happen. There's monstrous. There's a number of ways.
Confirmed it, yeah.
There's a number of ways that you can make a battle cruiser when it comes to Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, and we also have a peek here at the booster box. Unfortunately, it's more or less the same artwork.
It's angled. Yeah, it's just the key art folded onto a box.
it's the key art on the box, and the colors coming through Ikoria. It's very dark red. There's a really nice sort of teal, light blue green there going on, and I'm ready for a new plane. Let's go somewhere we've never been. Let's
I think
make it
that
weird.
the world building surrounding Ikoria has gotten people excited in a way that people were excited and intrigued by Kaladesh. Just because it feels different. It feels new and interesting, and people don't really know what to expect from it. And so I think a lot of people are just like, oh, something new, something completely different. You know, we have Vivian, who has not featured largely in any storyline, really. And so I think that people are just kind of intrigued by what it means.
Yeah, when we get some kind of weird dinosaur-esque type creature, something or other. Maybe there'll be is the behemoth a creature type? I don't think it is it?
I don't think so.
Maybe it can be.
Sure.
We got warlocks these days.
Great.
Which is certainly interesting. Moving on here, you know, we kind of have discussed earlier about one of the issues with this Players Tour thing is the marketing and the lack of support behind it. And here we have a really nice, really well laid out World Championships 26 survival guide that is on the magic.gg website. Now, is there an equivalent Players Tour? Here's what we're going to do for coverage. Here's the coverage people are going to be there. You should totally check it out.
No.
Like, you know, and not even that, you could also cross promote those streams of the, you know, those terrible real cardboard things in this article, where you could say, you know, look, not only is this awesome event going to be streamed live, there's this other, you know, card-based event that's going to be in Phoenix, and you can check that out this weekend along with the next coverage coming next weekend. And one thing, actually, we didn't have it in the show notes proper, but we do have to note, based on what they based on what I've seen reported, the draft portion of the World Championships is going to be done live with real cards, and then they're going to load those decks into MTG Arena.
Really?
And play them against each other in MTG Arena. I am not kidding.
Wait. So the paper cards are literally only there to be drafted. You will not be playing a...
Yep.
Wow.
So think of it, right? So think of it both ways, right? So the first way is you really are just like that against showing real Magic cards, okay? And then the other side is, do you realize in 2001, in the beta, we had drafting working in Magic Online? For God's sakes, we had Rochester drafting in Magic Online beta. And we can't get it together for your largest event for people to draft with 8. Oh my God. I can't, like, if you have to draft paper, why don't we just play in paper?
But you can draft on Arena now, can't you?
Against bots. You can't draft against real people.
Really?
So there's no way to join a queue. There's just like the bot queue. You can play and draft whenever you want, which is super convenient, but it's also a different experience. So I just can't imagine what was going through that decision-making process.
I think I saw something on Twitter about this where somebody was talking about how in the booster packs, there's those little place cards where it says like, no table required. And then it was like, you just still need a table.
Maybe a little table required. Maybe a table required about this much.
There was a brilliant tweet from Misha's workshop that had like that token card and then the announcement they're using paper and using Arena.
Photoshop,
And they just said shot chaser. It's just like, I can't. Oh my God. So again, this is terrific marketing for the event. Wizards is putting a lot on this event. Now
I'm more interested to see the draft than I was before. I mean,
Are you interested to see it or to hate watch it?
See, that's the problem. Is I would be interested to have seen the tournament as it is already, and I am the biggest limited apologist on this show.
Yeah.
Look, and look.
Now I'm definitely interested to see limited.
Well, thank you very much to Radyan. I do want to be absolutely fair here. There is a Players Tour Series 1 survival guide. I'm sorry I didn't find it while we were working on our show notes.
What does that look like?
And it talks about where you can follow the event, and here's the casters are in here, which is cool. Like
Can you link it? Is there a link?
Yeah, it's in the link in the chat.
I don't have the chat open.
Oh, well, if I link you, then people hear a beep.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So there's another now we are 2 of these 3 events are now over, but PT Phoenix is this coming weekend. So.
Yes, and it should be a fantastic time by all accounts. That said, let's move on here. Wizards has taken a page from what I would describe as the Warhammer manual. Warhammer, by the way, is doing incredibly, incredibly well. Like, it is blowing up. I mean, for the past 5 to 8 years.
That's the miniatures, right?
Yes, those are the minis.
Okay. Yes.
For the past 5 to 8 years, like, their growth rate has been absolutely insane. And one of the things you notice, even if you don't play Warhammer, you've certainly heard of them because there's so many video games around Warhammer. Just Warhammer so-and-so and Warhammer Mobile and Warhammer this, and a bunch of Steam games are Warhammer based. Because basically Games Workshop, you know, you're going to make some, have a Warhammer license. Like, just do it. Like, you know, they'll give them, and the way they kind of work it is that they give kind of, you know, unproven and or smaller developers some of the fringe IP. You know what I mean? They don't give them like the big characters. They don't give them the big storylines. They give them like some, you know, use this little tiny race or whatever. So, you know, show us what you can do. But as bigger companies kind of come around, it feels like Wizards is seeing this same model because they note that they're going to make a new sci-fi RPG with BioWare vets. So interesting, they're going to join D&D, and well, this is being the Archetype Entertainment is going to join Wizards of the Coast. Let's see here. They had previously worked at BioWare, which is terrific. And they say their debut project is described as a multiplayer role-playing game set in all-new science fiction universe that will send players on a story-driven epic where choices they make will have real consequences on how their story unfolds, and it will be set outside the D&D and Magic franchises. So apparently it's sort of tied to D&D, but it's really kind of not its own story.
This is, I mean, BioWare is a huge name in the RPG industry. I mean, they did Knights of the Old Republic, if I recall correctly.
Well, from BioWare vets, these are the people who left BioWare to make a new studio called Archetype Entertainment, and these are the ones who made the game. Gotcha. So regardless, I'm all for new RPGs. I like RPGs. Aaron, you said, and it moves on here to the next topic here, ManaStrike is officially available. ManaStrike.com does work. You can play this mobile game, far as I know, right now on the App Store and Google Play.
Yeah.
It's very much like Clash of Clans. It's lane-based with some card spell action in
Reminded me of Heroes of the Storm with like having little monuments that you have to protect and attack.
So
I was getting a brief crash course in this style of game during the pre-show. So this is going to be similar to Auto Chess.
No. I was describing, I love auto chess battlers, and I think Magic is going to get one 4 years from now because they're not going to be in cool and in vogue anymore like they are now. I was taking the P out, as it were.
I see. I see.
So that's a family-friendly version. But ManaStrike...
That's a big step for you.
I know, right?
Hashtag 5 kids.
That's right. Hashtag taking the P out. ManaStrike, however, is a really cool sort of, again, extension of the Magic universe. This is something that has the Magic's IP in it. Is it IP? Anyway, so I can't help myself. It is fun. It is really fun, actually, to see different games that like entire studios have been developing and working on through Magic to showcase Magic in a different and interesting way. I think that's fantastic.
Cool.
All right, so let's get to Desperate Ravings.
Here we go.
Oh, boy. I am frustrated. I am somewhat disappointed, but I am mainly frustrated. And it's funny because it's kind of like, it feels kind of like, you know, when the pros were kind of talking about, you know, the getting paid and paid the pros and whatever. And a lot of people were like, look, you're on high. You know, we don't understand the world that you're living in. We don't understand sort of the way that the way you get your money. We don't understand winning tournaments because we don't win tournaments. So we don't know what the pro club does and how the pro club benefits really affect me and so on and so forth. So when things affect W premium stores only, you know, that's 6 of Cool Stuff Games' locations. And so there was supposed to be a special event coming up for WPN stores, being a preview event, a watch party for the World Championships as being next weekend. And so WPN premium stores were getting a Crucible of Worlds promo to give away to the top 16 finishers of a standard tournament that would happen during viewing hours, right? So that's pretty cool. You get to show up, get to play with some cards, get to watch some Magic in the meantime, and you get this awesome promo. So there's a reason to show up for the thing. And then, in what certainly felt like didn't just come out of nowhere, they didn't just have some conversations on Monday and to try to throw this thing up on Tuesday or whenever it went live. Suddenly on mtgproshop.com, we have bundles that include the promo Crucible of Worlds. So one of the things that was touted as the WPN Premium member thing was that you get exclusive stuff like these events. Now, if you want to play semantics and say that the event is what we got exclusively and the thing wasn't, it's a little weird for me. I just feel like 10 days out from the event, all of these bundles are here, completely packaged with playmats and or t-shirts. And I've already seen people on Facebook saying, well, I'll buy the t-shirt if you want to get the playmat, and I'll take the promo, and we'll just split it up between ourselves, because the whole point was to try, far as I know, the whole point was to try to get people to find, locate, and have a reason to go to a WPN premium store, to give these premium stores who have to invest, who have to upgrade their stuff, who have to, meet certain benchmarks that Wizards wants you to reach, are not going to be the only place you can get this promo.
They really buried this too. I discovered this the other night. I was looking for a new Twitter header, and I wanted the art from Eldraine that had the skulls with the fruits in them, but I couldn't remember the name of the art, but I knew it was on a t-shirt. And so I was like, well, I'll just go on the Pro Shop site, find the t-shirt, find the name of the art, and then I'll have the picture for my Twitter header. And so I was scrolling, trying to find the t-shirt, and I got all the way to like the last couple pages, and like buried on the 10th page, it said world stuff. And I had to do a double take. I was like, what? I was like, that the event that hasn't happened yet? I was like, are you serious? And the first thing I thought of, admittedly, wasn't the Crucible, but the cheapening of kind of the merchandise, where it's like, if that were me, I would want to know that the t-shirt I got there, or the playmat that I got there, couldn't be received or couldn't be found anywhere else. And so, it's, to me, that's the allure of going to events. I like going to Eternal Weekend and knowing that my Soul Ring hoodie, my Bazaar playmat, that those are the only places you can get them, and that I have something other people don't. And so the Crucible thing is certainly terrible, but just the idea of kind of selling everything just feels like, if I was a Worlds competitor, I'd be like, what do I have? Because everything I have, you all have. Like, it's weird.
Like, there's a few ways to look at that, right? If the merch is trying to be sort of exclusive to those who make the World Championships, then these 16 playmats they made were going to be very, very expensive, versus being able to buy it from the Pro Shop. And so, and first of all, a few things. One, I'm not attacking the Pro Shop. I would never blame them for doing this. Like, if Wizards comes to you,
kind of separate-ish, yeah,
like Wizards comes to you and says, hey, we want to do this thing so people can buy it through your store. High five, man. As far as I know, that's still Steve Port's thing, and Steve is great, and I love
Steve
him,
Port.
and he's awesome. But the point is, and let me give you this: I would not be upset if they sold the promo after the event was over.
Yeah.
Because at that point, the WPM premium stores has essentially gotten their value out of it. They got this thing that they could tout. They got a reason for people to show up. Now this event can happen, and you can really value that promo because you fought so hard in this store that there's only like 1,000 in the world to get to. So for those people who mentioned in the chat, they're like hundreds of miles away from a thing.
I was just going to say,
there's nothing wrong with that. Let them buy it in this fashion after the event is over, and don't 10 days beforehand throw this out there in the middle of it.
Man, this is a divisive issue, it seems. I am seeing our chat split pretty even down the middle of, this is stupid, this seems like a big oof, this is a bad idea, combined with I'm glad that it's available. I'm happy that I have a chance to get this sweet promo. I'm glad to be able to buy these things on the Pro Shop, and I have access to them. You look at Gavin's tweet announcing that this stuff was going to be available in the Pro Shop earlier yesterday, I guess, and people are very excited, combined with people who are like, well, that sort of takes the wind out of the sails of the events. This one's a complicated issue, and I'm excited that they're available for those people who can't necessarily get the time or get the wouldn't otherwise be able to get these items. They're able to get these items. But by the same token, I get the frustration as well, and I think that your solution is a good one, where if it was available after the event and not before and not at the same time, and taking the
And you don't
P
announce
out.
that it's available after the event until after the event. I would not be as happy if it were like you can get the non-foil version via this package and you can only get the foil version at the premium store, but at least there's a distinction, right? At least there's the exclusivity that you're fighting for, that you're trying to make your store as nice as possible for. That, you know, I want to be, you know, want to be fair here. I understand their goals. You know, I understand the fact that they want to talk about Worlds and have a new product for Worlds, and this is part of their marketing plan, but like, it's weird because this was like the first thing of 2020 that was, all right, you're premium, let's do this. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. I'm ready to rock and roll. Next up here, we have, you know, Twitter, Magic Twitter, God bless it, is its own weird animal. And sometimes I'm just like, man, I hope we have something to talk about this week in the show. And Magic Twitter is always there for me, let me tell you. Lee McLeod had posted, you know, how do you rank yourself with your mental game, your technical play, your adaptability, your preparation, and your deck selection, A through F grades. This is a terrible idea. Not that Lee didn't come from a good place. What I'm saying is that when you look at an entire community, a culture that's usually built up of people who have problems with self-worth to grade themselves, show said grades, and then get judged on said grades and or challenged on said grades. And then we have, God bless him, I love Ari Lax, but he says if you don't have multiple top 8 PT top 8 level accomplishments and rank yourself an A in any of those Magic skill category things without everything else being a D or F, you probably just don't understand what an A is.
My favorite tweet came from Stu Summers, where he was like, if you're going to give yourself anything more than a C for preparation, and I see you asking for cards the day of an event, you don't get to have that. And I was like, bitch! I was like, yes!
I just, you know, and you know, even, you know, Mr. Chapin showed up and was like, does an A require being in the 0.9997 or the 0.9999? Like, come on. The idea that we're trying to sort of rank ourselves and then or judge ourselves against it, or you know, it's a weird thing that you kind of like, that just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't seem like
it came from a good place.
It
came from a good place, and I understand the meme, you know, the memeing,
right?
But ultimately it leads to just unhealthy mindsets.
Yeah. So and again, I understand where everybody's coming from. I even understand where, you know, Ari Lax is coming from.
Sure.
Yeah, he plays at a level so high we'll never get there, and that's cool. But that also doesn't mean that you should compare yourself to that level. That's bad, because we're all unique, wonderful snowflakes, and we all have our own positives and negatives. All right, let's move on here to a note about Wizards, talking about the coronavirus.
Breaking news here on the show this evening.
Tell you what, just before we went live tonight, there was a new announcement here on the Magic Esports Twitter due to the coronavirus outbreak, and in an effort to ensure the safety of our community's players, kind of a mistype there, Wizard of the Coast is canceling the WPNQ Season 2 in mainland China, which is scheduled to be held leading up to March 29th. As a part of this change, all WPNQ Season 3 events held from April 4th to July 26th in mainland China will offer two invites rather than one. The top 2 players will receive invitations to the Players Tour Series 3. WotC is prepared to make adjustments to events that are part of our programs when the safety of our players is called into question, and we will act and communicate such changes promptly.
Yeah, I mean, good on Wizards for, you know, recognizing that there was an issue here and that they made a clear and fast announcement. And it doesn't seem like there's any reaction as of yet. But from what I can tell, this seems like a good solution. I haven't seen any objection. I'm sure that if there is, and it's notable, we'll have more on it next week.
Because we don't get to talk about this particular part of the program, and it's been such a very long time since we did, I want to make sure 100% we're going to get to this topic because I like it. We're going to go infinite. For anyone who's like, what, you have a segment called Going Infinite?
I know, it's been a while.
Going Infinite is the segment in which we talk about what might be a potential thing that could be in Magic, a potential change that could be made. And Mark Rosewater has gone from what used to be a lot of Twitter polls about sort of ranking things and what's the brackets.
To tweeting about horniness?
To, you know, the
true.
man's... he was on Maine, you know, he didn't mean to.
Oh my God.
Horny on Maine. The point is, he's been asking a lot of questions about, you know, sort of inquiring minds want to know. And inquiring minds want to know if rolling 6-sided dice should stay in silver border or come to black border.
I don't know what that means. Is he...
So there are, for example, in Unsanctioned or any of the other formats, you can do certain abilities that allow you to roll a 6-sided die.
Oh, okay, got it. I thought we were still talking about like who gets to go first. Okay.
Right. There's no such abilities in black bordered Magic. As far as I know, does any card, we're talking thousands and thousands of cards. I don't
feel like there was. Let me do a quick search.
I know people sometimes substitute a coin flip with the die. It's easier that way.
Right.
But no, I don't think anything specifically says that.
I mean, there have been some weird cards in the past that aren't necessarily rolling 6-sided dice. Like, I think it was like what was it? Goblin Maniac was like choose a number of objects. There's also Goblin Game. Like pick a number, pay that much life. Whoever doesn't pick that much, like there's weird stuff in Magic that is certainly less weird than simply rolling a dice. Haktos is a good
it's a good one to point out, but they don't specifically point out dice or die on anything that's tournament playable, as far as I know right now. But that might change. And again, this is like, you know, you play a thing, you roll a d6 and something happens. What if it's 1 white mana, gain X life, where X is the number that you rolled? Like, I don't think it's necessarily bad, because part of it is that as designers, they start to find out like there's only so much space in these, you know, abilities that we can do. We want to keep trying different things. And so D6s, I think, are a natural progression of that. And I don't want it to be anywhere close to tier 1 playable. Like, I think this is like limited fodder stuff at best.
Sure. Yeah,
I might have been okay with it if we hadn't just come off of a discussion about using die to go first and how that is kind of flawed in a way, and all the things that can go wrong with it. That kind of scarred me a little bit. So I was like, maybe I don't think that's going to work in a serious format. Yeah,
I think there's a lot, you know, again, you could argue that Outlaw's Merriment, for example, is a
on a 1 and a 2, you make a rogue. On a 3 and a 4, you make a ranger, whatever it makes. I don't know.
And that's how, honestly, that's how a lot of those things are resolved in events, based on what I've seen so far.
So I think that the argument here for me boils down to, how do you like your randomness? We've talked a lot about this on the show, especially when Hearthstone was first coming up.
Right.
And discussing how do people, you know, when you go to the casino, some people like blackjack, some people like craps, some people like roulette, some people like bingo. But if you like one game, you might not like another game. It's the same with your randomness in trading card games. The randomness in Hearthstone is different than the randomness in Runeterra, is different than the randomness in Magic, is different than the randomness in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're slightly different versions on the same theme, but the randomness in Magic comes from the randomness of the draw, the shuffle, and the lands, specifically your mana base.
Yes.
Is a lot of the randomness in Magic the Gathering. Adding another layer of randomness might turn some people off. And so I agree with you that it doesn't necessarily need to stay in silver bordered exclusively. But if it becomes tournament playable or top tier, that might become a problem. I agree with you that would turn off some people.
Right. And, you know, and it's funny because you see how Hearthstone has leaned in so hard on RNG. And it's funny when you go and play Legends of Runeterra, where they have leaned way back from RNG. There is very little variance involved in that game that isn't coming from the spells you play, much like Magic. So for me, a lot of the variance of Magic is the top of your deck. And whatever's on top of your deck is a random thing that could have a variety of costs, could have a variety of card types, and Wizards has taken advantage of that with clashes and stuff like that over the years, the clash mechanic. But, you know, overall, again, this is one of those where I'm just like, please just tread carefully. Can we just, I don't I don't want a top tier card being anything we got to keep rolling D6s for.
Yeah.
Right. It's an interesting thought. I think that it's something that could be done.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got a few minutes left here. Any of the splash damages you guys want to talk about? Now is the time.
Aaron does.
Here we go.
So.
Yeah, I think I know which one Aaron's talking about.
So, Mishy Fishy Woo, the influencer manager for Magic and Magic Arena, posted a tweet this evening saying that the early access events that we have been fortunate enough to participate in are now going to be run through this creator program, which we kind of talked a little bit about last week. And so if you had been invited to these things in the past, you may not be invited to them anymore if you do not sign up for this program. And she says that you have to send in an application if you are interested. And then she says, yes, this includes anybody who's been involved with them in the past. We will be inviting from a new list. So Evan actually had to put an application in for us before the show. And I'm not a fan of this. I'm not really sure why it's necessary. There is some valid criticism here if you look at the replies. Apparently this is only available to people who live in either North America or Europe. So if you live in Latin America or South America or Asia, you may not be able to participate in this. Wow. I did see a tweet where she was like, you might have to speak to your regional wizards person, which just sounds kind of, it only applies to Arena. So being in the creator program is really for Arena only. So if you're a Pioneer player, if you're a drafter, we mentioned that Arena doesn't have drafts with real people, or if you're playing Legacy or Vintage or whatever, you cannot be in the creator program. You can't take advantage of the challenges that the creator program offers you. And so there's a lot of holes in the creator program to begin with. It hasn't really been fleshed out. And so to ask people to transition to this program that hasn't really been fully developed, I'm just not sure why we're doing that. There's also a weird partnership with a company called Stream Elements, which, if I'm understanding correctly, is like another Twitch or like a Streamlabs.
It's much like a Streamlabs. Like I had to go make an account on the Stream Events thing, and then inside Stream Events I had to go over to like this promotions area, and I'm glad I clicked there, because if I didn't click there I wouldn't have seen the click here to put in the application. And I put in the application and we cross our fingers and we hope that they like us a whole bunch, because it sure is fun to play with cards early.
Yes,
but either way, you know, the early access thing is changing, and it's sad because, you know, for example, MTG Young Mage is now too young to apply. Like before, Wizards just said, you know, cool, you're involved.
Card game.
We put you on the thing, and we're now going to include you. But instead,
if anything, it felt like there wasn't even a cap on it. Where like I would see people, you know, I remember the last couple of days leading up to it, there would just be this flood on Twitter of like, I'm invited, and like it just felt like nobody was being left out. And so to have to apply for it and hope you get picked feels really weird, because before it didn't feel. I mean, there might have been a gate, and we've just been very privileged to have not been held back by it, but this just feels a lot more restrictive than it was before.
You know, allow me to point out something that I don't think we've discussed or anyone else has really pointed out, right? There is an early access streamer event for Magic Arena, right? There is, beyond, you know, time and money, there is no necessarily good reason that I can think of that you couldn't also do this for Magic Online. The cards are all coded into the into the accounts, just like they are in the other client. So all the cards are there. All the cards work. All the cards have been through a beta process of some sort, even if they're still bugged a little bit. But there would be no reason they couldn't show you, you know, the streamer access event to those who play Legacy, or those who play Pioneer, or those who play Modern. I just want to put that out loud in the world.
It's more that you can't sign up for the creator program, because part of the creator program involves these challenges and these other sort of things, these achievements that you have to hit to, you have to be streaming these challenges of these achievements, and they are only tied to Magic Arena. So if you can't qualify as an official creator, well, that excludes you from being part of the early access events.
Right. And yes, the cards go live on the same day for MTGO and MTGA.
Yeah, I think that we'll be okay. I think that I think Magic Mike's has enough.
We're gonna feel real dumb in 2 weeks when we get declined.
Oh yeah, no. The reason why we would get declined is because of this segment and segments like it, where we constantly complain about the creators program.
Yeah, what you talk some more smack? You got some
Magic
more opinions?
Mike's. We'll put that in the red file and not go ahead and not respond to that one.
Tell you what,
I'm gonna run into her at the bathroom of an event. It's gonna be like that Mariah Carey scene in Heartbreaker when she's like fighting with her evil twin.
I want to I got just 30 seconds
30 seconds,
on sir, this is a Wendy's. So for some reason, because of the world that we live
See what you did there.
Wendy's and other social media accounts are tweeting at each other.
That kind of freaks me out, by the way.
It does kind of freak me out that brands are like interacting with each other a little bit.
Getting like snarky and talking trash.
So Wendy's became famous for this originally because they roasted somebody for forgetting that refrigerators existed for a second several years ago. Wendy's still top tier in terms of snarkiness and shade.
And in rap albums. Rest in Grease is a banger.
Oh my God. They also made a RPG, a tabletop RPG supplement a little while. Anyway, so they responded to a tweet from Target because originally they were like, "Hey, McDonald's, roast us," and then Target gave them the eyes emoji because this is the world we live in, and the response was Magic related, which is why we're talking about it. Let me get some gift cards to buy some more Theros Beyond Death packs. Trying to get that foil Thassa.
Wow.
Which, Wendy's, which is a major fast food company with 3.5 million Twitter followers, tweeting about Magic. So it's at least a little bit noteworthy. And it is very strange that these brands are interacting with each other. Other brands such as Magic Arena and Magic the Gathering and Card Kingdom also got in on the fun. Anyway, that's a thing that happened.
That was the thing that happened. We just
I thought it was delightful.
It was delightful. I think it is funny.
It was funny, and it was very fun.
Also, don't trust brands to have your best interest at heart. That's just casual.
It's just off-putting. I also appreciate the fact that like there's a certain point in time as we go backwards in time at which like every literal thing you just said would make no sense to anyone. They use emoji on Twitter. There's brand Twitter, and it's fantastic.
Sure. It's funny. It was my boyfriend had sent me a message the other day, and he's like, "Yeah, my roommate knows who you are. He says you're the eyeball girl on Twitter because I use the eye emoji a lot."
I think of you as the fingernails emoji.
Emoji? No, it's the GIF. It's the one where she's just like.
And also because you rate everybody's cuticles.
I really do.
Should we become snarky with the Magic Mike's Twitter account? Is that how we get?
You got to stress those comedy muscles.
That's
your bag, Ruben. You're all about the comedy.
Yeah, Ruben, you gotta go dunking, man. Go like donuts.
Should I lean into that? Is that a thing we're trying to do?
We need to C Massive. We need to get the youth's attention, please.
There we go.
Please pay attention
Greetings,
to our
fellow
snarkiness.
kids. Yeah.
Exactly. We're turning the corner to the finisher. Last night in the United States, President Donald Trump delivered the State of the Union address to the nation. In his opening remarks, he said, "The state of our union is stronger than ever before." Now it's that time for Magic Mike's. So if you were to tell the Magic Mike's nation the current state of affairs, what is your 2020 State of the Game address? Ruben?
Standard, Pioneer, Modern, formats across our great game are seeing a glorious new Red Dawn, devoted to the best color. And so with that, I am burning to say that the state of our game is absolutely on fire.
That's right. Aaron?
Modern problems require modern solutions. And as I've said before, Modern Dredge is still putting up results. Congratulations to Sodek for winning the PTQ in Brussels this past weekend. So with that said, I'm proud to say that the state of the game is exactly the way that I like it. Broken.
Goodness.
Just in half. Underworld Breach. Jeskai Breach is a thing in Legacy.
God, that card's so busted. My fellow magicians, Theros Beyond Death is selling like hotcakes. Unsanctioned is flying off the shelves. Command Fest are bringing in new players to the game like never before. And so with that said, I am pleased to proudly and privilegedly... I screwed up your joke, I'm sorry. I am proud, pleased, and privileged. I screwed that up big time.
You tried. It's okay.
I'm proud, pleased, and privileged to say the state of our game is magical.
Privilegedly.
Well, it's all right. I thought you tried. You missed it, and so you tried to recover it, but...
And then I fell on my face and like scorpioned, like when you do that and you're flat and you go all the way up. Okay, that's terrific. But that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
I'm privileged to be here.
Privilegedly. That's what we did here, cacophanies. Keep
Yep.
your cacophanies on. Thank you, Ruben.
Yeah, I'm pleased, proud, and privileged to.
Oh my God!
have
Can we
given
sell
this.
cacophany packs?
That's the next
Cacophany
Kickstarter.
packs is the next
Cacophany.
Kickstarter.
Oh my God. We're going to move here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching or listening, and hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes or Spotify, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.